Well, hello again. So at this point, I'm happy to announce that we know when we're moving. We're going to be moving in about 2 or 3 weeks. And it makes me so thankful that I took the time 6 months ago to slowly start to do things like declutter little by little, consume the consumables, use that temporary storage area in the basement, and just kind of arrange things in a way that makes it easier. Because now this whole prospect of packing everything up in boxes and putting it on a moving truck isn't that intimidating. I feel like, okay, we're in a good spot right now. And this is the moment that I like to start thinking about the other side of the process, what it's going to feel like to move in and unpack in the new home. Specifically, I like to ask myself, okay, what are the things about this house that bugged me? What are the problems that I would love to solve? What are the areas that didn't function very well that I would like to improve in the next home? And that's actually why I'm sitting here in my daughter's room, because her desk is one of those areas. So when we moved here about 3 years ago, it started out like this. This is a beautiful desk with a lot of workspace, and she could sit here in color. But then over the last 2.5, 3 years, every time my daughter got something cute, something pretty, someone gave me this gem, I got this new set of Hatchimals or this little figurine or whatever, they kept filling up her desk. She always wanted to display them on her desk. I thought it was just temporary, but it turns out that once my daughter decides where something belongs, she will not change it. She's like, no, 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 no. All of these figurines go on this desk. And I looked at her and I was like, but you have no room to work. She's like, that's okay. I'll color in the basement or I'll color on the floor. Now, up until this point, that wasn't that big of a problem. I thought it was more of a problem than she did, but that's because she's younger. But in the next few years, I know it's going to happen. Her teachers are going to start giving her actual homework. And she's going to want to retreat into her room to do that homework. She's not always going to want to do it at the kitchen table. I don't even know where our kitchen table is going to be in the next house. So I want this to be an option for her. And when it was covered in a bunch of stuff, it was not going to be a good option. So if we were going to stay here in this house for the next 10 years, that would be one of the big projects on my to-do list. Okay, this is a problem. It needs to be solved. I'm going to need to help my daughter transition and change the way that she sees her desk. And that is going to be a little bit difficult. I could tell there was going to be some resistance there. So instead of doing it that way, I am kind of taking advantage of this moving process to slide that little transition under the radar. So here's what I've decided to do. And by the way, as I'm sharing this story, if you have a move coming up in your future, I want you to think about what you would love to solve. What are the problems in this house that you would love to solve in the new house? In fact, the entire first lesson of the Moving mini-series is all about establishing new house goals. So if you get the Moving mini-series, you definitely want to pay close attention to that first lesson. And that's exactly what I did with my daughter. I said to myself, this is my goal for the new house. The desk needs to be clean enough to be available as a useful workspace. And so here's what I did. I gathered both of my kids together and I told them a true story about how discombobulated our stuff was when the military movers moved us from the old house into this one. See, when the military sends a moving company to your house to pack up, they want to go as fast as is humanly possible. So they will carry a box to one room and fill it up. And if it's not completely full yet and the room is empty, they'll just slide that box over to the next room and keep going. So if they're filling it up with office stuff, but then they have room left in the box, they'll slide it over to the bathroom and start putting towels in there. And it doesn't matter that the outside of the box says office. They don't care. They're not the ones who are going to have to unpack. But I care. I have to unpack. And so that's why one of the things that I'm doing is right before the movers come, I'm going to gather all of the bathroom stuff from every single bathroom in the house and put it into one bathroom, because that'll make it not impossible, but at least less likely that that stuff is going to be distributed into random boxes. And so when I shared that example with my kids, I said, we should do the same thing with your toys. When you get to the new house and you want to find your dress-up stuff or your Hatchimals or your Legos or whatever, you're going to go straight for the boxes that are marked toys. You're not going to go for the one that is called children's bathroom or boys' bedroom or whatever, or office for that matter. You're going to go to the box marked toys. So to make it easier, I said we're going to gather all of the toys from the entire house and put them all in the downstairs basement play area. That includes your room. Now, of course, we've decided to keep their books here and their stuffed animals here because those aren't really playtime toys. Those are things that they use in their bedroom. And I let them choose one decent set of toys to keep in their bedroom. For my daughter, that's her dollhouse, which is perfect because she likes to keep all of her little dollhouse calico critters and other stuff in the dollhouse. She doesn't want them on her desk anyway, so that's perfect. That's great. But everything else that was on her desk that was toy oriented, that is now in the basement. It is packed up and put away. Now, I didn't tell her you were using your desk wrong. I didn't tell her this is going to change in the next house. I just said, let's make the moving part easier. Now, in the meantime, she is getting used to having this nice, open, clean workspace. And so what I did, again, just being sneaky, is I printed her out some new coloring pages. And I said, hey, why don't you use your desk? Now that it's clear, you can color up there. And she said, yeah. And she loved it. She even said to me, hey, it's kind of nice having this workspace. And I said, oh, great. Maybe we'll keep it that way in your new house. And she looked at me and said, maybe. But I know that that's going to happen. She's going to enjoy working at her workspace. And when we get to the new house, because all of the toys are packed up separately from the basement and they're like way on the other side of the moving truck than the bedroom stuff, when we get to the new house, I can tell the movers every single box that's marked toys, don't put it in bedrooms, go put it over there. And it can be separate from their bedrooms. And so when my daughter sets up her new room, she will find a place for her dollhouse and her books and her stuffed animals and her desk and her coloring stuff, but she won't have a bunch of figurines and toys and other stuff that don't really belong in her room anyway. And she can get used to that. And at that point, then I can start to make a decision. If her room is big enough and I don't think it's going to cause a problem, then I can let her bring some more toys inside. And at that moment, I will say, you need to find a space for these things that are not on your desk, and we'll go from there. I don't know how big her room is going to be. I don't know what the furniture situation is going to be. I don't know if it's going to make sense to have any extra toys in there, but doing it this way just kind of gives me that option. By scooping everything out and putting it to the side, all in the name of making unpacking easier, I have not only been able to kind of recalibrate her expectations for what's going to belong in her room, but I'm also giving her a chance to enjoy the benefits of having a clear desk, and I'm giving myself the option to unpack slowly and to kind of just redo the way that we do things in the next house. So that's my way, again, of taking advantage of this transition to make it easier to solve a problem that I was going to have to solve at some point anyway. So that's kind of what my focus is going to be for the next few days. That's what's on my radar. Every time I walk through the house and I do a chore or I tidy up or whatever, I'm constantly on the lookout for what are the things that don't function very well and that I would love to function better in the new home. On top of that, I also try to look farther into the future and try to anticipate any problems that are going to be coming down the pipe. The one I can think of right now is electronics. My kids are too young right now to have their own cell phones and tablets and things like that, but at some point they will. And at some point we're going to need probably like a charging station. You know how some families do that? They say, okay, at dinner time, everybody plugs in their phones at the charging station and you put your electronics into the basket because we don't want electronics at the table. So when I go and move into the new home, I'm going to be kind of on the lookout. Where would our electronics station be? And should I go ahead and create it now? Maybe, because that way by the time the kids get their cell phones, that norm has already been established, because for the last 5 years, mommy and daddy always charge their cell phones at the charging station before dinner. I don't know, maybe it might still be too early for that, but either way, it's something that's on my mind. So like I said, our move is going to be taking place in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and now that I think about it, I may or may not have time to do one more video, so this may very well be the last video that you see of me in this house. Oh gosh, that makes me all jittery just saying that out loud. But until next time, whether that's here or in the new house, I hope you found this video helpful. Bye.